Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast. Tonight, we are going to be digesting the news. Now, emotions have settled down a little bit, but not looking back in debating overly the decision that's happened today, because it's always going to polarize opinions, but instead look back at some of the great moments we can now use as a springboard for success with our next coach, a manager, whoever that may be. But we're also going to look into who that may be and why they could be a great fit for Spurs. But not only that, I think we're going to not get involved with the too much of the argumentative side of the whole debate tonight. And I'm going to be joined by various people in this discussion, popping in and out. But firstly, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments of this one if you're watching live on YouTube. And if you're listening on audio, well, maybe you could try out that Spotify comments thing that people use. And sorry for the slightly late start. I was just on Last Word on Spurs and it overran a little bit. So the decision itself, I still have the belief that personally it was a decision that, even if you are the staunchest supporter of Ange, like we've been on this show over that period, I don't think anyone can truly argue it was a decision that comes as a complete shock. And there was some fair reason for change. Hey Joe, how you doing? Welcome back. I was just saying, despite the shock of the news, I think shock's probably the wrong word. I think it was a expected decision that in today's show, we're not going to digest too much into it was the wrong decision, it was the right decision, and argue about it too much. But it was understandable, right, that there was going to be a review of Ange's performance, even as some of his biggest backers, when the league performance was so extreme. And it just, when those debates divide thousands of people so much, it shows it's a difficult decision to get right. And until this time next year, we probably won't know which decision was right or not, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be hindsight, isn't it? Whether it works. And I think you've mentioned in other shows as well that we can't know until we know. So there's no point in getting upset at someone else. I understand the vitriol towards the club. It's getting debatable who made the decision even. So that's a bit interesting. But sad to see him go. Obviously wanted him to stay. But it kind of feels like I just have to move on. I don't think there's really that much need to linger on it. How do you feel about moving on, and how's the breakup going for you? Are you
the breakup? Like, obviously I described it earlier, like as it, I don't know if you've seen what's it called, The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio.
I heard the analogy on what just before, but
yeah,
say it. It was a good one.
Yeah, I just feel like we were so close to knowing for sure, and we're never going to truly now know like what the answer was. And that's almost
true.
worse. It's just you need closure with decisions. And I feel like, even though it's completely understandable why a lot of people would say, we've got to seize the opportunity. We've got Champions League football ahead of us. We've got to be careful here. If we miss out again, it could be a long time till we can get back in. You've got to take emotion out of things and just be sensible and pragmatic about everything you do in football. Otherwise, you just, if you follow your heart, you end up like Everton, half bankrupt, having tried to fulfill a dream without a proper plan to get there. But equally, this guy has promised and adhered to his promises every single place he's gone, including us. And he promised the greatest thing on earth to us next season. And we said, I don't believe you, like that Anchorman meme.
Show it up your butt.
Back. And then and then said, we're going to go for what we believe is a safer approach for our football club. But that's probably good for you if you're, looking at it sensibly. But I'm a believer. I've got a little bit of that.
Top the PSR tables again. Come on.
We are, yeah. Although I'm hearing that the rumours around Levy stepping down from his chairman position are true. So it'll be interesting to see
I did notice for all of Levy's faults, he has been pretty upfront about like he's been very much like he takes on both the easy decisions, like obviously we all hear the stories about how Levy flies in and closes the deal when it's like a player and we're like 5 million off and we've spent 30 days trying to get him. Now, is that because we had the first 30 days were also Daniel Levy and he just didn't want to spend the extra 5 million until the last day? Maybe, but he's upfront about those, but he's also I think been upfront about like making manager decisions. Like I think he was pretty open about being like the one who decided that Pochettino needed to go, and I did find it interesting that in this press release they said that there was a decision from the board. It wasn't a
Mhm.
decision from Daniel, and obviously that could just be him trying to remove himself from the situation. But I don't know. For all of his faults, I don't think that that's necessarily something that he normally does. And in decisions like these in particular.
Yeah, the statement wasn't signed off by Levy, and they normally
No,
are. It was
the
signed
Cloys
off.
Daniel was a meme in the Tottenham community for years.
Yeah, Levy's been pretty silent overall, and that does feel like, as much as I think it's deflating for a lot of us to see the dismissal of Ange after such a euphoric win that he brought with us as a huge part of. It does feel like after all the build up, this was Daniel Levy's like big, also kind of like told you I could do it moment, and he's been completely silent. And he's not the type to go out and gloat, but we saw in the Champions League final, right? He was itching to get out in front of people and be a part of that. He was very excited by his own achievement, by being part of that achievement himself. And this time it just feels like he's also maybe having his bubble burst. Perhaps maybe we're over evaluating it, but it would match up with what we're hearing, right? That he's going to move on. Charrington's coming in is now a non-executive director, and he's just kind of on an interim advisory basis, going to sit there whilst we bring in someone else to run that role, and Vinay Venkatesham will run the football side to ensure of continuity while the board is going through that change. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens there because I do it, and I think a lot of people do it, where if the news that's being rumored is something that you would like to hear, you tend to believe it more. And I've just got to remind myself that we don't know if the actual structure has been changed. There's a lot of reporters out there that just make things up clearly. So we'll have to see if there is a change. I have been somewhat on my own a fair bit with, I've actually think there's bringing the club from early 90s in nearly bankrupt to where it is now financially has been a fantastic achievement for Levy and co. But there's also some negatives, which is I don't really buy the transfer ones because that's like acting like we live in a vacuum and we're the only club that exists. But the branding, marketing, how they communicate with fans has been terrible. And that's probably led to how much anger there is towards that group of people. So if he is leaving, he has put the club in a position to go forward to succeed financially without having a billionaire, trillionaire state come in and take over the club because they're the only clubs that have made up ground on the historic clubs. Everton haven't made up any ground because they haven't had a billionaire come in. But Newcastle have made up ground because they've had this injection of cash, and we've done it sort of really the only way that you can do it. But we don't know if he made this decision or not. It might be that Donna Cullen, Ange, and Daniel Levy were like a crew of being best mates, and they just all getting booted together. And it could be just as much that. So Ange going, his sort of ability to communicate has been, to me, fantastic. And I even think I've enjoyed the press conferences where he's sort of bit back at the press because I don't know why we give them so much. We put them on a pedestal like they can't make mistakes a lot of the time. And why would you fight back against the media? They create the narratives. Well, because you allow them to. But we've also come 17th and won a trophy. I understand why people wanted him gone. it just is what it is, I think, at this stage. We don't know if it would have been a success next year. And there's a few guys I would like to come in to see replace him, and we're at that stage now where we just have to look at who's going to come in, I think, and say thanks, Ange, for one of the best nights, or for me, mornings, best mornings of my life.
Mid-afternoon.
There you go. He made my evening, your afternoon, Deej, and your morning, Joe. He made a whole
full
day for us.
I was gonna say he
What
made
a-
a bit more than my afternoon. I'll be honest.
So yeah, I do have a theory that I know everyone's saying it's Frank, it's Frank, it's Frank. If you know, I told you guys before, I'd already been told of these interviews with Frank long ago that it was all happening, and that's kind of coming out more and more. It's definitely, it was true. But don't you think if it was Frank, it would have been logical to be like, right, goodbye, Ange, next day, hello, new manager, if it was that certain? Or do you think, because it does to me, it feels like that decision is still being made? I don't think
I
we've gone.
I think that's possible. I don't know. I'm a bit. It does feel a bit odd that unless I'm wrong, um, there's not. Unless I'm wrong, this was like the 2-year anniversary of him signing his contract. So that could have been there could have been something related to that. It could be something related to when Thomas Frank signed his deal with the club. I don't know. Um, but I I don't know. I don't have they obviously we're in a transitional period with the club in general. So it could have been between we don't know that if it wasn't between Frank and Ange. Like
Mhm.
it could have just been that. They could have been deciding that and they were like either we're going to get Thomas Frank or we're going to keep Ange and we like Ange. We are very like we like that he brought us a cup. The players are behind him, blah blah blah. But we don't think that this style of football is sustainable. We don't think that this cup run is indicative of future success. I'm not saying these are my words. I'm saying these are the thought processes you would go through if you were to replace him. And so it took them a while because obviously, yes, he did bring us a cup. He brought us the thing that we've been asking for years now. But we but obviously they chose to go in a different direction. And it'd be nice if the club had had made their mind up beforehand because this has been a pretty decent possibility for probably since we made the semis. Like I would say that on the odds, I would have expected us to not necessarily expected us to win, but like at least be in the final. And then in the final, anything can happen, as we've seen in a negative light so many times in the past, and then in a positive light in Bilbao. But it is a bit disappointing that we weren't able to have this kind of figured out beforehand. But I think that the turnover that's going on in the boardroom that we're really not privy to at the moment, um, as well as just a general pattern of inability to make decisions that look good, makes me think that that doesn't mean that it's not Frank.
Yeah, I just, I am curious to see if this is such a big overhaul that it's gonna be a lot deeper than we all have think. And I think it does kind of, in a way, show the impact Postecoglou's had on us. That this isn't just your standard like rip the plaster off, bring the next guy in. This is left like it's left a really different feeling than what I'm used to seeing after a manager going. And I've been gutted to see managers go before. Like I really enjoyed Martin Yole, and I really enjoyed the era under Redknapp and Poch, of course. But you kind of felt like, oh, it's annoying. But you know, the next person comes in and you're already excited. But this just feels like the manager's just one of many changes coming. It just feels,
Yeah.
it just feels deeper. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
overthinking it. I don't know if you
No,
guys, if it
I
just
don't
feels a
think you
bit
are
deeper.
because Cullen's gone. I think Munn is basically confirmed to be gone. Um, we're bringing in the new CEO, the guy to run the football side. And then obviously there are rumors of Levy stepping down. So I do think that this is that this is a transitory period for the club, which can be good. It can be exciting. Like that, this is something that, despite how we feel right now, the club could come out better on the other side of it. It would be nice if we could have gotten there with Postecoglou, considering what he got for us. But I do think that, I don't know, something big things are changing. We've been asking for change for the last probably 5 to 10 years of the way that the club is run. So that's the other thing is, like, it's hard to put this on the usual suspects almost, especially if Levy steps down, because this is a decision from people that we don't know. It's a decision from a decision from people that it's a decision that has come from the board doing what we have asked them to do. Is change. And now the board is changing, and that changed board seems to be the one that has made this decision. Obviously, I could be wrong, and Daniel could come out and tomorrow with the fucking the Wolf of Wall Street, the I'm not leaving thing. I'll try to avoid any more swearing. I'm sorry, but I don't know. It does feel like things are changing, which makes it almost weirder for me. It makes it harder to be, not harder to be upset, because I am upset, but harder to be mad. More, I don't know, confused,
do you think that's part
forlorn.
of it, though, guys? Do you think, like, they knew this decision would probably cause enough of a, because I don't think they're going to care about so much about angry fans in the stadium. They'll be like, yeah, give them a few wins and they'll be over it, most of them anyway, and they'll be on to the next thing. Buy them a new player and they'll be happy with a new shiny toy. But we're all humans and we think we're invested in the club. Imagine actually literally being invested in the club whilst being a Spurs fan and breathing it day in, day out inside that building. This is going to have an even bigger emotional impact. You can't speak on behalf of how a fan feels, but it's going to have, arguably, for the, if you were working for, so you are the same person you are now watching this, but you also worked for Spurs and your job was working for Spurs and you had money invested in Spurs, it'd probably be even more emotional if you felt we just made the wrong decision. And you've got to assume that they are going to be like us, where it's going to be a very divisive decision. And for a lot of them, it's going to be disbelief and frustration. For some, it's going to be in the middle. And for some, it's going to be, we made the right decision, get over it. But it's going to divide the building into different camps. And maybe that is why as well, it's like, this is the right moment for a lot of us to step away and swallow that, take that heat on, and let the new people start with a clean slate to take this club forward.
I think the division part that you mentioned is something that could get really tricky, because without getting political about anything, civil wars in countries often create power vacuums, and that could easily just happen here as well, and that could turn things even worse. But it could also be a bright future, and we can make the right decisions. I think the hardest part for me, maybe some people as well, is now there's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing to, like, no one has any idea what's happening now, with the rumors of Levy going as well. At least just if he was staying, it'd be some consistency, but it's seeming like it's going to be completely changed.
So it does. This very much feels like like this could be something we look back on as a very apt end to a very confusing era. Where, I mean, I think that is probably the term I'd use to sum up Tottenham in the last, I'd say, like, since Enoch took over. We've been a club that somehow has made it from, mid-table to being consistently one of, like, the big six. We've been a club that, despite being there, seems to be allergic to trophies. We've been a club that the time we do win a trophy, it's when we finish in 17th place. This club has been very confusing for the past, especially since Pochettino left, where it's been the place that serial winners go to lose. and eventually lose their mind. And it's a place where people who have no idea what they're doing with only one tactic bring first the first trophy we've had since 2008. So yeah, and then all this on top of the rumors that allegedly we're looking at moving on Sun, which I don't know how much stock I put in those. I haven't seen them from any super reputable sources, but I don't know. It feels like that would kind of just make sense given everything else that's happening. That another piece of consistency from the last couple of years for Tottenham would also move on.
What do you think the club can do to? Sorry, Jim, you finish.
There you go.
I said, what do you think the club can do to get people back on side now? Is it just buy a really expensive player and then everyone will be all cool? Or is it literally lay out a plan in writing? This is what the club is doing. Release that tomorrow and have because that's all I've ever actually wanted Spurs to do is communicate what they're actually trying to achieve.
Well, we went from having the worst leader of a PR department in the Premier League, Donna Cullen, to not having one at all.
Yeah.
So we've gone from the bottom to rock bottom from that perspective. To the point where no one's brave enough to sign off a club statement anymore. So it can't be put on one person. Like,
it is kind of crazy we fired the PR person before we sacked the manager.
Yeah.
That's an interesting decision.
It's just like you said earlier, Deed. It's like I almost felt like when we still don't know anything. And I felt like, can the manager decision just happen so we know where we are? And it's happened, and the penny's just dropping now that we still don't have a clue what's going on. Like we still, because we don't know who the next manager is. We don't know if actually, there's nothing to squash in the same way the Ange, and we were proven right. It was absolutely nonsense. And well, not nonsense. It was denial when people were like, why would they say anything? He's under contract. That just means he's staying. No, they'd squash that rumor if he was staying.
There was logic behind that argument, though. It's just that the club didn't use logic. The club didn't just do what they were meant to do. I mean, there could be contract lengths and situations and things that they needed to abide by for time-wise, but couldn't they have just announced it and then actually signed it off 2 weeks later? I mean,
I feel like
it gets
all they have
messy,
to do
but
is just say
it is messy.
All they have to do is say to Matt Law, or there's other journalists that are clearly on their books as the ones that help them release news because they always get it first. Ornstein, Law, Ben Jacobs, all that stuff. They just have to say, can you just leak out that the Spurs board never had any reservations about Ange and they're fully committed to next year's project? And those journalists will be going, please give me something, and they're choosing not to give them anything.
I agree. That's what they should have done.
Yeah,
but they've done 10 years of not doing things like that.
I don't know. I think that the non communication was communication enough. I don't know. Maybe they were just in that boardroom day and night. Like, we have decided this person is like, we need Ange to stay. This person's like, we need Thomas Frank. And someone in the back is like, we need Marco Silva, and then they're told to get out.
He's
sorry,
still...
if we get Marco Silva, nobody ever heard that part. I back the manager. But
he's your Brendan Rodgers. It's fine. Mine's Brendan Rodgers. Everyone's got that one manager. I think they're like, this guy comes in.
Deserving for me.
I can't even pretend. I'm
You
going
wanna
to be the miserable toxic.
You want to know what would be the most confusing thing for Tottenham to do next?
Bring back Poch.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I don't either.
But it would be...
DJ's trying to win the World Cup. That's what he wants.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to win the World,
if we get rid of,
if you want to win the World Cup, get rid of him.
We'll get Ange.
Yeah,
I saw someone suggest Ange to Ajax. I think that would be a really fun one.
That would be
a really fun place for.
Stu thinks AC Milan potentially. Can you imagine how much he would warp Serie A, traditional Italian football's mindset? Like, build from the back, and he's like, no. Watch this. Emerson Royale redemption arc. Is he still there? No, he's gone.
Yes.
He's gone for AC, isn't he?
He's still there, I think.
I thought he went to Galatasaray. I thought we sold him.
There's very few players that I follow after they leave, to be honest.
I saw him play a game for them in December. So He could have gone in the most recent window though.
Yeah. Joe,
So-
who was your manager? Who's the one
Would
that
hate
you were like?
Zerbi.
Yeah.
I
Why do you not
I
like
think
him?
Fair.
because I found that he was kind of like what happened to Ange, that he brought something in that was unique, and then it got found out, and then that was it for him. It sort of ended, and he also seemingly has just a chaotic personality type. So that's it. My choice of who I would like to see would be Thomas Frank.
Yeah.
I think
I think
he's
he.
a very intelligent
Go ahead.
person.
I don't know. He's a. I know we've always kind of. Brentford is that team that you love, like that you like to watch, like that you like until they're playing your team.
Because they're
I think that
harmless.
that's been the case for Tottenham fans as well. Is like I know the people are like, wow, Thomas Frank plays. There's lots of Thomas Frank praise all over the timeline until they play Tottenham, and then if they win, it's like they don't actually play football. They put 10 men behind the ball and get one shot off and whatever. And
They're all good.
you
The
have
thing is,
to.
all these guys are good coaches.
Yeah.
We all have our preferences.
And
Xavi,
Brendan Rodgers.
except Brendan Rodgers. Xavi,
Exactly.
Frank, even Silva. I'm sorry, they are all good coaches. That if you said here's Liverpool's squad, they would all do pretty well with it. Some would do better than others, but they would all be in the top 4 if you gave them Liverpool squad. You know what I mean? Like it's not like one of them. They're all capable, but not all of them would win a title with that squad.
But maybe that's a bit. I think that's a bit. I don't know what word to describe it, but Liverpool is an easy one. If you said Real Madrid, wouldn't think that, because there's crazy egos there. Liverpool seem like a settled squad with good leadership within the playing group. So I think you're right, but I think not all of them would succeed at Real Madrid because of those reasons. So yeah. But we don't know what's going to happen, do we?
Should we look
managers
back?
that excel at different things? Go ahead.
Rather than speculating,
Don't
we talk
cry
about?
because it's over.
That's what we're doing.
Shall we? Because I started this pod
it
before you
happened.
guys when you were slightly late. I was like, look, we're gonna do something different.
Whoa.
Rather than speculating too much, we were going to reflect a little bit as well on some of the most memorable moments, good, bad, and ugly, of the last 2 years, because it's been a hell of a roller coaster from those opening 10 games right the way through to that Europa League run. If you took the last game and the first 10 games of Ange, you would, and you just showed those to someone, and you're like, I'm going to show you the last game under this manager and the first 10. Now, guess what happened in the middle? You would not get it right. You would not say those guys finished 17th, but those guys also beat Liverpool. But you would not get within. That's how extreme. But what were your guys' favorite? Does anything stand out apart from the Europa League win? Does anything kind of stand out to you as like big decisions or moments that define that era, and even things that like decisions that ended up being great that were big and risky at the time, or terrible that ended up being, risky at the time?
Son's decision not to score against City turned out in hindsight all right.
Oh yes, the decision to not score.
It's crazy because when you say a thing that was bad, my head goes, well, that's because of context. Like the Villa loss in the FA Cup, that was a pretty hard one. Or the Wolves loss, that was a pretty bad one recently. But like the Villa one, everyone was so tired in that game. So it's like, oh, was it really that bad? Everyone was just wrecked. I guess just thinking back to when people were lying on the floor holding their hamstrings, that probably is the most hurtful thing, seeing people go down, get injured all the time, losing so regularly. Good moments, though. I'll let someone else say the bad moments before, but we'll finish on good on this topic. I think that's probably better. DJ, what are your worst moments?
Oh, why are you putting me on the worst moments?
We'll all do worst moments.
Okay, I think it's not his fault entirely. I don't think you can say anything but that actually I'm not going to say the injured period, because the injured period we had times where we showed fight, where I thought that maybe we can scrape out a result. Like when we beat Liverpool in the first leg of the EFL Cup semifinal. Second leg weirdly didn't happen. So, but I think the worst one was when we had players back and we still looked like we had maybe 9 fit men. Like I think that's kind of what like doomed him is the games. It's not like even when we didn't have our first, like obviously we didn't have our first choice center back. So then you're like, well, that sucks. But at a certain point, I guess the thinking is that sometimes like you kind of need to win anyway, and that we never like in the last like let me see, we in the league the last game we won was April 6th. That is also the last game we drew one game. And that was against West Ham.
That was tough. Yeah, it was tough, but things I don't want to open. I hope we can die off now. Ange's gone. Is the like debate around whether we should have won more games playing the B team or whether the B team was like
Well,
just uncompetitive in the
I
Premier
wasn't the one
League.
who asked for the worst moments. I'm just telling you my worst moment. And all of this was to get to the worst moment wasn't even like watching any of the games. It was getting up knowing I was going to watch a loss. And
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
that's brutal. And like
It was.
I even like the like I still think he probably earned a third season.
Yeah,
But that was brutal.
that was.
And I think even the biggest like supporter of him, of which
Oh.
I would count myself in them,
It got
is
my cousin and brother just stopped going, and uncle, and
that's bad.
I was like driving 2.5 hours on my own to the
The
stadium.
Leicester, a sneaky one is the Leicester game that Boxing Hotspur
draw.
mentioned in the comments. The week 1 draw, where everyone felt so good about the start of the season, and then we come in barely getting a point against Leicester.
Yeah.
I think
When
right.
I said
think it's
best and worst, why are you guys diving into all the bloody worst?
because you
Well,
finished
so we
with the
can
best
talk about
one,
the
so everyone
best
remembers.
later. Exactly.
What's
you
the
deliver
best goal under go?
Best goal. Best goal. I like Pap's goal against City. That was a good
Not the
one.
volley.
It's kind of a volley. It was from a corner, like a set piece one.
Oh, Deej, you've got Amara in the comments.
I saw that.
You're so well spoken. To have the American guy being told he's the well spoken one when there's a proud Brit trying to speak the Kings.
I'm never going to get it in the half English, half Australian accent with a blocked nose. I'm never going to get that well spoken.
I was coming back to my hotel last night, and we had 4 of the drunkest British people I've ever seen coming up with us, and it was I don't know. It's always funnier, I think, when British people are drunk than anyone else, because they're like super, like they're like slurring their words, but they're still speaking what I think of as an accent. So it's like this guy was like could not stand up, but he was still like I don't know, had a British accent. That's really funny to me. I don't know why.
Well, you're coming over next season, right?
Yes.
You'll get to see.
Unless it's Marco Silva, then I'll wait till next year.
Sorry, Joe, your favorite goal was Pape Matar against Man City?
I guess it's one that just kind of sticks in my head. I don't know why. But that was a good one. Just to finish off I think you're both right. It's the worst part about the season was not having hope. That was the worst parts, I think.
What you mean in the league when you're just playing for nothing?
Yeah, just
it was like under Stellini again.
Yeah, like the Liverpool game we played in the league towards the end of the year. That was one of only 2 games that I didn't just wake up for it, and it was at 1 a.m. and I just didn't get up for it because I was like, "What's the point?" So it
did feel like I'd drive to the game on my own, go say hi to the couple of people that I normally see because most haven't bothered going because they're just so deflated and broken. Well, Sai and Johnny normally have ironically flown over just to get there. We trudge up to our seats. I'm too depressed to even have a drink. I'm just like sit there in my Bovril, and I just sit there and just chat to like Sean, who sits near me, who's the Spurs talk show, or Haley or Matt sit to my left, and we're just not even watching the game. We're not even watching. We're just here because it's our duty to be there. We're like, yeah, but can't wait for the European game coming up. And then you finish, you lose, you argue with people about whether it was important or not, and then on your journey home. And my case, darling, talk sport, we're just so bored. And yeah, that's it. But the losing just for an international break was every time was pretty.
I bet one more that just came up to me that wasn't this one was definitely like way more overblown than it should have been. But do you guys remember how you felt after the Fulham game in the Carabao Cup in season 1?
The Fulham game in the Carabao Cup.
It was where we rotated 10 men and then lost, and then everyone lost their mind because we rotated.
That wound me up though, because
I know it wasn't actually bad, but I'm pointing out when we were going to talk. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about high moments, but I'm just trying to remember the times where I remember the feeling of the fan base being negative. And
that one triggered me the most, remember, because it was the first season when we were doing pretty well in the league, and there was lots to be optimistic about. And then everyone was saying, this guy isn't sustainable the way he plays. You can't, do that in the Premier League. And then he rotates, and everyone's like, what are you doing rotating? You've got to play your best team. This is Tottenham. We got to win a cup. It's our heritage. And I'm like, if you look back at all our cups under all Jose, Conte, Poch, they all did this, and they did not get this level of stick in the early round. But we also always lost those games under all those managers because we always over-rotate. And then after that moment, Ange was like, right, I'm taking all the cups really seriously, and went almost too far the other way. But we went really deep into all of them and won one. But I remember that one winding me up because of that. And I was a bit like, and our squad then was so even thinner than now. In our first season, it's thin. In the second season, it was like really good 5 or 6 players. And then it was a bit like if they get injured, we're screwed. And luckily the season was all right because we kept, apart from that mid-season blip, them fit for 2/3 of it, those core players. So yeah. There'll be more good moments though. I think there was also, I really enjoyed the Lucas Berryville arc, which was
I enjoyed the Lucas Berryville arc.
He was written off at points. Well, people were like, "Oh, he's not ready. He's a kid," and then he just got better and better.
I remember there was discourse after he welcome to the new membership. I believe that's Duncan.
Welcome, Duncan. We appreciate this. Do you know why as well? Understandably, a lot of people who have...
We've lost all the Australians.
We've lost all the Australians apart from Joe, because Joe's actually born in England and a Spurs fan. But a lot of the Australians who are not Spurs fans have made their point, understandably, that they've seen what Tottenham does to people and gone, I have the choice to tap out of this, unlike you guys. And I am going to leverage that privilege.
And I'm going to rub it in.
And I'm going to rub it in that I can leverage it. So my first message was actually from one of my, I won't mention their name because they're one of my favorite members I've got to meet on the show. And I was adamant this one person was going to stick with me. His first message to me was, after they cancelled, hi, Jim. How do I cancel my membership on YouTube? Like,
oh. Also, for anyone confused, Duncan is my brother.
He's one of my...
Ignored the comments he made in the chat.
No, I don't even feel as good because it's just what's the word from when a relative does something because you're a relative. It's like that's sympathy,
nepotism.
Nepotism. It's just a sympathy, nepotistic vote membership.
My brother has like $4 to his name. This actually means more than from a normal person, I think.
So Duncan's a DJ as well. No, yes, actually, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, who's Abby? Is that your sister?
No, that's my girlfriend.
Hey, that's it. I did recognize.
Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest.
Yeah.
That means the other thing about me being well spoken is
your spouse with a other half with a membership.
Where's the membership? Come on.
Yeah.
Use his card too.
Yeah, use his card too. but yeah, so that sucked definitely.
Okay,
But,
good times, good moments.
Good times. I don't like how hard it is to think of them.
I
Yeah, we
have
were
one.
out doing the final. I actually find it, thinking back on it, hilarious, the Chelsea game when we had 9 men. Like it kind of summed up the style. We were trying to be super attackive, and Ange was trying to implement like a mentality by doing that, I believe. And it's just kind of funny in hindsight that we were like, that image has got so many people riled up as well. Of just us on the camping on the halfway line with 9 players. So I think it's a pretty funny one.
I did like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just there's been lots in the. I think one of the things that's a bit of a shame was I think, and it's understandable when you're like down in the league and everyone's frustrated about the football, you want to pick a fight with the guy you feel is responsible. But I feel he actually like gave some really good punches at the media that were really enjoyable to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But because understandably a lot of people were really annoyed at him, they just kind of went back at him. It's like, no, we should be on his side, laughing at the media and like getting involved with this. This is really good. Like other clubs do that. You act like a paranoid bunch of delusional, insufferable idiots when you support your football club and you back your team to the hilt. And our manager was very good at creating those opportunities for us to do that. But instead we were like, come on, man, you're so disingenuous. So disingenuous. You just said that we lost because of this, and you should just own up and just say like we were worse. I'm like, no, but no manager does that. Every manager does the whole like everyone else is an a-hole and we're the good guys and everyone's out to get us a bit. But we just didn't really get on board with that enough. But we still had some great moments in the media. Like I just copied Pep, mate. That was quite a funny way of handling it and watching people froth over that. They took it seriously and they couldn't see the joke.
Yeah, the quotes were good. There's some really good quotes. Some definitely mic drops. Yeah. Soccer Profits just told Levy to go on the Sky Deck
yeah.
in the chat.
Soccer doc.
4-0 against City was pretty good. Beating Man United 4 times in a year or a season.
That was pretty good.
Yep. It's funny.
I liked when the whole thing with when the I'm loving Big Ange instead song got like its 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Also I think one of my favorite quotes was the Ange, what would it feel like to win a trophy? And he said, I know what it feels like. I've got one. He's like, no, but what do you reckon it would feel like? He's like, I don't have to pretend and imagine what it feels like, mate. I've got one. I've got quite a few actually. I quite like that comeback as well. And then he went on, and they kind of belittled it as not enough. And then he went, okay, well, here's another fucking trophy. Take that. That was quite fun. Does this mean Robbie Williams isn't a fan anymore? Ross says, probably not. Yeah,
I think the Liverpool win where Matchup scored the own goal, that was really nice. I was a big fan of that one. That one felt really good. Especially that was the game where they had the goal that was totally onside ruled out.
Yeah, they were.
Remembering that correct? That made it way better.
It annoyed so many people, that one.
Which one annoyed them more, that one or Lucas Bergwall not getting sent off against Liverpool? Probably the goal.
The first one, the goal, yeah. Because I saw people talking about the goal like after the semifinal of the Carabao.
Yeah. What was the most? What was the most? What do you think was the biggest like moment that? What was the moment that split everyone? Because there was definitely a moment where it went from.
Oh, the moment that split the fan base was.
It started the crack just went like a fissure through everything.
Before he was signed, that he was Australian was probably the biggest. Before he even became our manager.
I think everyone liked him for the first 10 games, obviously. And I don't think it split by the 11th. Trying to think of what I think. I mean, some people were calling for him to be out by Christmas from the beginning, but I can't count that. When I say like split and everyone was behind him, obviously there's gonna be some people that are just never gonna get never gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, never gonna assume he can do anything more than be terrible, which I think is stupid. And I think the moment that I'm looking through the games, and it's maybe getting
I think it was early. I think it was the Chelsea game.
Everton 3-0 loss is a good call.
Do you not
Actually,
think,
Chelsea.
I think it was the
one's
Chelsea.
probably-
I think it was early. I think it was the Chelsea game when everything fell apart a bit.
That's when the media started being like, he's too risky. It's just crazy. You can't play like that in the Premier League, and they sort of
You
planted
literally
that
got
seed.
a year later. Sky kept using the same screenshot from that
Yeah.
same game of the high line. It's like he hasn't done that in a year, and you're still using the Chelsea screenshot and saying he does it every week. I remember that really irking a lot of us, being like, yeah, we're still conceding too many goals and leaving ourselves exposed at the back post, but for different reasons now. That's like so yesterday's news. And they just kept repeating that narrative. Going 3-0 down to the Goons, says Stu. Yeah, that was pretty tough. I think that didn't go. I think that made it a bit harder for Ange as well, was Arsenal's resurgence as a club from going from like knocking on the door of the top 4 to title challenges kind of was all peaking around Postecoglou's start date. And then you go into North London derbies and you're losing them. And then also Chelsea's Todd Bowley was just like obviously on crack, just signing everyone he could get his hands on. And that obviously just wound us up because like you're in the transfer window being sensible, cautious Spurs, taking your time over transfers, and Chelsea are just like going, another, and all the fans are getting really wound up that they want one too. I think those two things also added to a bit of frustration and anxiety. That kind of has control.
Yeah, after signing Kinski was pretty bad too. After we signed Kinski, they didn't sign anyone till dead, so
yeah,
people were not happy with that at all. Do you reckon this will join the fan base back together? Do you think we'll
Depends on
still
if we
be
start winning.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, the fan base comes together when we win, and the fan base splits apart when we lose, because everyone has a different idea for how to fix Tottenham. But if Tottenham don't need to be fixed, then no one has to have any ideas about how to fix them.
Well, what happens though? You know, a lot of the underlying thing to every change group is Daniel Levy leaving.
If Daniel Levy leaves, then they'll just find someone else. It'll just be ENIC as a group. Like Daniel Levy is a as much as he takes credit for decisions that people dislike, he's more or less for a lot of the fan base, he's a figurehead for what Tottenham has meant in the past 15 years. Just because he leaves, if Tottenham does not then change, then it's still Daniel Levy, but just someone else, or it's just ENIC. You know, like it's not there. There will always be like a moment, like a bogeyman until we win. And if we win, then people will stop caring, except for the people who's like except for like, you know, the people who like have determined that ENIC have like done too much, gone too far, whatever. But I don't think that Daniel Levy leaving will be, hello Sean, will be that big of a I don't think it will quell the.
Well, the bit I struggle with most of guys is there's been, I feel the Levy outstuff's gotten so strong in some cases. It's underpinned like every single debate, even when it's nothing to do with him. And I used to say that because I was just responding to someone then who I said, like, basically on another forum I was on, I'm gutted, you know, I'm an Ange fanboy, but it would be delusional and disingenuous to say crazy that he was sacked. No just cause at all that he was sacked. What? The 17th in the league, so what? That's no reason to sack someone. I still think the pros weigh the cons to keep him and that we should have kept him, and I want to see season 3. But there's a reason why 45% wanted 40% of the fan base wanted to get rid of him still, even after the win. What was it, 35%? So a lot, right? Because there is just cause for that conversation, and when you take emotion out of it, and it's always brought back to, oh, you're just saying that now because you're defending Levy. So it's not. It's just not about. It's literally got nothing to do with him. Literally got absolutely nothing to do with it. And I had it on I was on another channel, quite a big one, the other day, bigger than ours, and I was on with people who I'd been previously put on shows with to argue why Ange should stay a few months earlier. And I was on there, and they were all like, before we went live, said, by the way, we're all 150% Ange in. We are Ange until the hilt. And I was like, whoa.
It has been
This
interesting.
changed. But I know I was on yesterday. I know that people knew the writing was on the wall for him, and those people's biggest priority is removing Daniel Levy. And that if Ange is sacked, they can bring this half of the side on and say, we're on the same page now, right? You gotta get rid of that guy. I'm like, it's just not always about him. It's just not.
It is.
But
it is always about him,
I
unfortunately.
don't like Levy. I don't even like him. I just think that some of his decisions have made sense and some have completely not made sense. How is that loving someone? How is saying the stadium was good, football decisions were bad? But sometimes lucky good football decisions, sometimes risky bad football decisions. It's like, so what? Yeah.
It's hard, and it's difficult to. I saw someone say, Erp, I think, said something about club signings, and like part of that is true, and I do think that to an extent, like I don't know, it depends on how much you give him credit for, and I think that the credit also comes with the blame for decisions of a similar ilk that don't pan out. Um, some of the club signings that we've signed have been really good. It's just that our manager is a massive asshole who refuses to play anybody but someone who's 40 years old and has never heard the word attack in his life. Conte. Like Jed Spence was a really good player, and like sure he could have he maybe he didn't show that when he was here the first time. Like maybe he needed those loans out, but to use him as like the flag for club signings from him specifically is I don't know. It's just weird because of how we all think about Jed Spence now, where we're like, I wish he would play more. I can't believe he's not playing enough. Obviously, there have been other club signings before and since. One would think. Um,
Come on, say something, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew. You're welcome to come on, mate. You're welcome to come on.
on.
Should we get you on? Do you want to come on, mate? Just let us know.
I'm with you on
Ross
that.
Is on there as well.
The signing ones, because it's like when the rumors of Romero leaving, you hear all the time saying things like, how could we, while we sign, we can never replace someone like Romero because we won't spend the money. But we signed Romero in the first place. So it's kind of like, well, we obviously can buy players like Romero because we have Romero on our team. And it's, yeah, some people just want to hate Daniel Levy no matter what. And I think he has done some good things and some really poor things. And I think that's life, isn't it? Who would be someone that runs a club in the Premier League that is perfect? Like which one?
Like I know it's funny because even the ownership groups, I'm gonna lump Levy in a little bit with Enoch here. Some people can maybe disagree with like the level with which Enoch and you know and Levy are, like where Levy begins and where Enoch ends, or vice versa. But I know for a fact I have a friend who is a Red Sox fan, and they own Liverpool, and lots of Liverpool fans are really happy right now. But lots of Red Sox fans absolutely hate FSG, Fenway Sports Group, because they feel like all of the money that they're like generating is going into Liverpool. And then when the Red Sox spend money, I'm sure that there will be Liverpool fans who are like, that money should be going to us. So, like, I don't know. It's funny because even like good owners are bad owners in other sports. Because
Liverpool
people
also
just want
haven't
you to
signed that
spend
many
enough
players.
money. People just want to spend enough money to always win the league, or not spend money and still win the league. But it doesn't matter like how if the ownership can make the worst decisions in the world and they could coin flip their way to like a victory, people will defend them to the death. Like if they coin flip their way to like they could sign the worst player in the world and that player could then have the greatest season of his career, and they could win like I guess this would be closer to like a basketball thing because basketball is more individual talent. But you can spend a bunch of money and suck, or you can spend a bunch of money on the wrong player. Like I'm sure sometime soon United's going to have a good season by accident, but it's not because their ownership is good. I don't think that their purchases are done in a way that makes sense, that there's a coherent vision for like a way forward for that club. But eventually they'll have a good season, but it's not because they have good owners.
Alexis
And like
Sanchez.
on the other exactly. And then on the other side, like there are owners like Brighton where they don't spend a bunch of money, but they're always like pretty good because they spend the money the right way. But then if that same ownership model is applied to Tottenham, which is how we kind of got to where we are, you're then saying that that manager's not good
Not spending
because
enough.
you're not spending enough because you're not challenging for the titles, which is the next thing that you would think Brighton would want to do, but sometimes it's just not financially feasible. So realistically, people want to spend money like United and hit every time like Brighton. And like even Brighton has failures. It's just that the Brighton failures don't mean as much because they were like a £3 million player instead of a 30 million, 50 million pound player. Like I remember when they signed like I think his name was Jahankabash, and he scored like one like bicycle kick and then like scored like one goal ever again and is now playing in like I don't know where he's playing now, but like they have misses. It's just, so what?
Right, guys. I think we'll probably wrap up as midnight
We
my
nev-
side.
We never did we kind of skipped over the good moments. We said the good and the bad about Ange, but we said a bunch of bad and then
Well, it's all eclipsed by that. It's all sucked into that trophy at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's all sucked into that one moment. And
I mean
look,
City 4-0. That was pretty cool.
Liverpool FA Cup was good.
Sheffield United.
yeah.
There was
lots.
Just to finish up, I just hope that there's action taken now
Yes.
and it's said publicly, and we can try and calm the fan base down a bit. I think there needs to be constant day after day of things happening to show that the club is actually going to move forward. Or, as mentioned, people that were Ange in will turn on the club as well. So it's in the club's hands now. Whoever the club is now, who is the club? We don't know. So yeah,
That's it. You can't vent at the club because we don't know if it's Vinay, we don't know if it's Levy, we don't know if it's Charrington, we don't know if it's some new person, we don't know anything.
To
literally
the
don't know.
people who are saying that Liverpool fans aren't FSG fans, I know, but they're not actively upset with them at the moment. And
Some are weirdly, not a lot.
there's some people, there's
a
always some, but I would say if you ask an average Liverpool fan, like they would be like not like super super angry. And I think like I don't know, that's kind of the like I think, but I think if you ask like a Tottenham fan, would you rather have FSG owning you or Enoch? I think 95% of them would probably go with FSG because it's like they're like it can't be worse than this. But like even the ownership groups that you like are looking at the club and they're doing well are not like people still don't like them. So,
unless
I
you've
just
got
think
Man
that no one's
City's
ever going to
ownership.
be happy with an ownership group unless you have an infinite bankroll. It's kind of the point that I was trying to make. I guess I made it poorly, but
well, I mean, Chelsea do, and they still have
yeah, even if you
protests
have
because they
infinite
sold
bankroll
Gallagher.
and you're not winning like 110% of the and you're not winning like 110% of the cups, people will be upset. Like if Chelsea sold Gallagher and then won the treble, people would have been fine the next season.
I don't know. There's always people that are going to be misery guts
Yeah.
people, and it's just that's human beings, aren't they? Some people like us are excessively positive, or me. I'll take the brunt of that one. So there's just different types of people, and it's going to be in every fan base. Fan base is just a microcosm of society, really, and yeah, it's never going to be perfect, and we've just got to accept that, and let's just hope that the coming years coming season is something that can be cemented going forward. Because Spurs do have all the things that can make a successful team. We've got a lot of good young players. We've got a great training facility. We've got lots of money, a great, huge fan base. That it only needs actual effort to want to win now. And that's all it takes, and some direction, and hopefully that could be the case. And I thought that was going to be the plan until basically today. It seems like maybe that's, who knows what the plan is. It's even my positivity is waning a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see.
We shall see, indeed. We will
Right,
appease the
guys.
fan base by bringing back Kane.
Can
That
I
would be
just say
something.
as well, just one more thing on that Levy thing. So I had a comment now, like someone saying that we'll be mourning when Levy's gone. No one likes him. He wouldn't be on my top 10,000 dinner nights. If I got to choose anyone, he wouldn't be in my top million. I'd probably pay not to go to dinner with Daniel Levy. But
I don't know. I'd want to, if
he's
he
a
had
bloody
some
good
truth
asset
serum.
manager.
If he had truth serum and I could have a dinner with him, I would. Because I'd ask him the questions, be like, "Why did you do this? Why did you do that?" That'd be interesting. But I don't think he would ever be direct and tell you what's ever going on.
Glenn,
But I don't think. Go on.
sorry to interrupt, Joe. Someone we've been in a relationship for 2 years, and because Daniel Levy, you're like the 100th person to do this today, because Daniel Levy betrayed you and he also betrayed me. You what? Sorry, Joe, carry on.
No,
Shame on you, Glenn.
It is, Jim. It is your fault, and you should write a personal apology letter to all Spurs fans for Ange being sacked. I think that's where we should leave it.
Yeah.
It's like,
as the spearhead of the Ange Out movement, the Oso Spurs podcast would like to apologize.
Right. Up the Spurs.
For Jim's words, not ours.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
We need to say that, by the way. Like I say, come on, you Spurs.